Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome to the February 20th Mobility and Access Coalition. Looking forward to our meeting today. We have one presentation and a lot of updates. And I do want to note that Commissioner Levy is on the call and that she is now our liaison to the MAC. So thank you so much for joining us today, Commissioner. I know that this is also your public meeting day, so I don't know if you're always going to be able to attend, but do you want to say hi real quick before we get started?
Yeah, I'd love to say hi. Yeah, no, thanks. I'm really happy to become the commissioner liaison to this coalition. I do most of the other transportation planning, regional and local transportation work for Boulder County, and so it really made sense for me to sit with this coalition. It's a group and a process that I'm really excited about and want to get much more into the weeds on what we're doing to really provide mobility and access for all. So I'm just happy to be here. And yes, we do have our business meetings on Tuesdays. They generally are over by 10:30. Occasionally I'll have a conflict if we do a land use meeting, but I'll do my best to attend all the meetings I can. Oh, and I see Commissioner Lochimin is here. So you got both of us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Commissioner Levy, and thanks. Good to see you again, Commissioner Lochimin. I know that you had to step away from the MAC this year, and that there was a swap in who was going to be the assigned person. So I just appreciate that both of you were able to attend today. Okay. I'll go ahead and get started. So when you registered for the Zoom meeting, you should have gotten a reoccurring meeting, and we do have the one tap click to be able to call in on your phone if you lose internet access. I know that this is happening less and less now that we're like getting used to everything, but just wanted to let you know that you can just go ahead and click on that and then call in from your phone and listen in. If you won't be able to see the slides, but you'll be able to listen in. And again, a couple of housekeeping rules or housekeeping. We ask that everybody mute themselves. In the bottom left-hand corner of the slide, you'll see that you can mute and unmute. You can unmute yourself if you need to chat. Just go ahead and unmute yourself and chime in, or put up your hand and we can call on you as well. Also, we ask that when you're speaking, if you can, use the video because it does help with communication in this virtual context. You can see the other participants on the call by clicking on the participants. And at this point, I'd like to ask everybody to put their name and their organization in the chat. This helps with us being able to take roll and be able to know who attended the meetings. And we will send follow-up email after the fact. We will have a few people that are going to be running a little bit late, and we'll be admitting them throughout the time here. We meet on the third Tuesdays of the month now from 1 to 2:30. This is the first year that we've met at this time. And again, the purpose of the MAC is for networking across human services and transportation organizations, capacity building so that we're sharing resources and information on transportation. We also have a work plan associated with the Mobility and Access for All Ages and Abilities plan so that we can collaboratively advance our strategic priorities for that. We have presentations with external entities to be able to come and provide us information on projects and programs in the community that will be useful to share with our clients and the people that we serve. We also provide updates on planning processes and project updates. Here is kind of the reason why we exist. The Mobility and Access Coalition, as I mentioned earlier, is that bridge between the human services and transportation planning fields. We really do believe that transportation access is essential to accessing opportunity, having a quality of life, and being able to meet your basic needs. Transportation is one of the social determinants of health, and we want to see that people are in the safe and thriving sections of their of the self-sufficiency matrix through transportation options. So we don't focus on necessarily the modal approach, we focus on the human-centered approach to transportation. We have a pretty busy agenda today. We're going to start with an icebreaker. We have some updates that we'll go through, and then we have a presentation from DRCOG on South Boulder Road project, and then we'll go back to working on some of our work plan priorities. So as far as the breakout session goes, it looks like we have about 30 people. So we'll probably end up doing about, let's go ahead and do 6 groups, Jessica, if you wouldn't mind. In the breakout session, we'll have about 10 minutes. Go ahead and introduce yourself, your organization, and describe a moment when you were able to assist a client with transportation access in the last year. Like, what was that outcome? And it doesn't, if you personally didn't serve one of the clients, maybe it's a story that you heard from your organization. This is just kind of that information sharing on how we learn what needs are out there in the community. After the breakout session, we'll have one person from your group kind of give a high-level overview of what y'all talked about. So we'll go ahead and open up. I think that Jessica's going to randomly assign people to the groups.
Do we have 10 minutes? Is that good? A good amount of time? Okay.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
I want to open the rooms now and see you in 10 minutes.
Thank you. I'm going to pause it, Jessica, but make sure I remember to unpause the recording. Okay, welcome back. So for group number 1, who wants to be the spokesperson for group number 1?
Brittney, Darcy, Gretchen, Marjorie, but I see Darcy that you want to be the spokesperson.
I'm happy to jump in.
Great.
We had a really great array of people. So myself from Boulder Transportation Connections, and Brittney from DRCOG and Community Solutions and RTD. And so I love we all have some good examples of people that we serve. I talked about the really wonderful CU employees, frontline workers that I'm interacting with to support their carpooling efforts. And Gretchen from RTD talked about Access-a-Ride and gave a great example of a student who was able to arrange his own doctor appointment because he could use Access-a-Ride and just do it himself. And so it unburdened his mother. And that was a really great story.
Oh, wonderful. Was that Access-a-Ride or Access on Demand? Sorry, I missed the first part.
I think it was Access-a-Ride. Is that right, Gretchen?
Yeah. It was Access on Demand, actually.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. What's the difference? I need to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. We'll talk about the difference, I'm sure, here later on, but yeah, wonderful. Access on Demand is like a pilot that they're doing with Uber, Lyft, and Z-Trip. So it's exciting.
Oh, that's right. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thanks. Okay, so for group number 2, do you all want to provide an update? Who is your spokesperson?
Yeah, I can be the spokesperson for us. So Denise was talking about how she is helping the senior community, or the community that she lives in, 62 and up, do a presentation. She wants to do a presentation about like transportation options, and so she's working on that as a volunteer ambassador. And then I said that I was doing like I recently got to help my friend apply for Access-a-Ride, and I got to go with him to the certification center, and that was awesome. I don't know what else. There's probably something else. Sorry. My brain.
No, that's great. Thanks, Sarah. That's great. Group number 3, who wants to be the spokesperson there?
I can share out for that one. Got a lot of good stories. I had shared that after one of our travel training sessions where we take people down Union Station, there's a group of adults who were feeling a little bit worried about using transit, and then got comfortable with it and met each other, and then now they'll kind of hang out together and go around town, which is fun. Someone had shared that they were able to help someone get from where they live down to Chautauqua, which is fun to get outside and learn how to do that. Someone was sharing that they've been doing a lot of engagement with the community, just kind of hearing what people are, hoping to have and want and things like that. And then someone else shared that they were able to help someone who was recently injured find some transportation options to get to and from their appointments.
Great, thank you. So for group number 4, we have Brandon, Danny, Megan, Melanie, and Melissa. Who's going to be the spokesperson for your group?
I can be spokesperson. I might not capture everyone's, but there were really great, diverse examples. So Melanie, for example, was talking about how basically in the community engagement they do, that there was an avid cyclist who participated, who also has a vision impairment and doesn't drive as a result. So just the presence of that individual and connecting with that individual, how that was so meaningful to their community engagement process. There was the example of C-trips, better educating folks on the use of vehicles, not just for medical appointments, but for all activities that they need to, conduct in their everyday life. So expansion of education in that regard. And then Brandon, was at Union Station and helped an individual understand how to use the mall ride, and the mall ride was free for them to travel across downtown. So those are some of the examples from our group.
Awesome, thank you, Danny. That's really great. Yeah, I've definitely been, Brandon's been pretty active on social media, so seeing him out in the community all the time, it's great. So group number 5 would be Adriana, Corey, Joni, Lisa, and Nick. Does anybody want to share, be the spokesperson for your group?
Yeah, head and do that. Last year, I received a phone call from a senior woman living in Louisville who was a victim of the Marshall wildfire, still homeless, still looking for a place. And she had also been had a massive head injury in her lifetime. And so she had a lot of trouble with numbers telling you where she needed to go. She's trying to book a ride with Via. Was really having trouble communicating what her needs were. And so she could sort of tell you what the building looked like and what town she was going to. But from there, you sort of had to narrow it down for her. I was able to narrow it down that she wanted to be by a gas station, and next to the gas station was a medical facility. And once I could Google that and see what doctors were in that medical facility, I could go through and give her all the names until she recognized the name of her doctor and said, oh, that's it, that's where I need to go. Then I have to go ahead, of course, get her the time to be there, time to go home. And so we called the doctor's office. They told us what time she needed to be there. We called her back, got everything done. We're able to give her her trip and to get her back home. So just the things that are hard for people, right? With head injuries and having a hard time communicating because of that. And the stress of dealing with the Marshall wildfire compounded her issues. And so, yeah, we're thrilled to be able to help her.
Wow, that's really great. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing that. I know that, yeah, that's definitely hard when people don't know how to ask for what they need, but thank you for sharing. For the next group, it's group 6, which is Clara, Claire, Lisa, Matthew, and Rebecca. Does anybody want to be the spokesperson for your group?
I'm happy to do it. I think, oh no, there's Rebecca. I was going to say I'm the only one I see on the screen, but I see Rebecca there. We actually didn't have people who actually are transit providers or people who have direct client contact, although Matthew Passwater, who joined us later, does in his role with HICPUF. But what we talked about was how great the Mobility for All ambassadors have been for people who are finding themselves newly transit dependent and really hesitant about how to use it. and just providing a level of comfort so that they get used to using transit and feel like they have not lost their mobility as a result. We had one member of our group share that she lives quite a long distance from where she works, and that transit doesn't work for her, and just a desire to have that alternative. So that's just sort of a note on the need, the needs that exist outside of the RTD for people who are in small towns who I'm not going to assume the reason for living where she does, but often people do move some distance away from their jobs so that they can afford housing. But then the trade-off is a real tough time with commuting and the cost of transportation.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Yeah, that like whole driving until you qualify for lower rent or lower mortgage is really a real thing for most of us. But yeah. Well, thank you so much for that little icebreaker. I really appreciate it. And I hope it's good to connect with people from different sectors, different fields. I'm going to go ahead and share in the chat some of the updates that we have. I saw that Cammie's on the call with her new email address for City of Longmont here. But we are hosting a going away happy hour for Cammie, which you're sideways here.
Yeah, I haven't been able to figure that one out yet.
Yeah. So those of you who didn't hear, Cammie has moved on from Boulder County's youth transportation program, and she's now the Vision Zero coordinator for the City of Longmont. So begrudgingly, we're going to schedule a happy hour today to say goodbye to her this afternoon. She's been in her role now for, I don't know, it's been 2 weeks now at least, right, Cam? Oh,
Yeah, maybe almost 3 actually.
yeah. So if you want to get the details on that, I think I invited everybody that's in the MAC, but just let me know and I'll forward that. It's going to be at Rosalie's Pizzeria in Longmont, and we're just really looking forward to celebrating everything that Cammie accomplished while she was here at Boulder County, and we're just really happy that we get to continue working with her in her new role.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excited to see if you can make it today. It's okay if you can't, but thank you, everyone.
Yeah, it's exciting. Okay, so I'll turn it over to Jessica for the next update.
Yeah, thanks, Angel. I have a quick update on mountain rides. So there's a new schedule that started on January 31st. Mountain rides will stop at Chipeta Park across from the Grand Apartments to provide service to people on the east end of Netherland and service to and from the post office. So for those of you who are not aware, Mountain Rides is a fixed route service between Ward and Rollinsville that runs Wednesdays and Thursdays. And thanks, Angel, for adding that link to the website where you can see all of the stops. And then I think there's also a link to follow Mountain Rides on Facebook, just that you're aware of the changes that may occur in the route depending on the weather. So yeah, I hope you can help us spread the word for people who live in the mountains and need transportation services. Thank you. Oh, I think you're on mute, Angel.
Thanks, Jessica. So the ridership for mountain rides continues to grow, and people seem to really like the new driver. So we're excited to be able to offer the service. And for those of you who haven't heard about mountain rides, it's a service that Via Mobility Services is providing with the Peak to Peak Housing and Human Services Alliance. And then we work on mobility issues in the mountains on the Mountain Mobility Working Group for the MAC. So it's been a project that we've been working on for a couple of years now. So we're excited to see it flourish and grow. The next update is the Growing Up Boulder Child Friendly Map sponsorship. I'm not sure if Maya's on the call or if Maya wants to give that update, but I'll go ahead and put the
I could give the update. So Growing Up Boulder is a nonprofit program that's leading Boulder's child-friendly city initiative, and it's sponsored by the Colorado Nonprofit Development Center. And they're working towards making Boulder a UNICEF USA city, sorry, there's a lot of acronyms, child-friendly city through increasing community engagement with children. And the latest edition of their child-friendly map will be released this spring. The map is designed to encourage exploration, highlight children's favorite spots, and promote inclusion and collaboration. It includes Pearl Street Mall, Gateway, playgrounds, recreation centers, and things like that. And organizations can help sponsor Growing Up Boulder. Sponsorship is a year-long commitment, and there's different levels of sponsorship with differing benefits. And yeah, I can go ahead and throw a link to the form for sponsoring and the website in the chat. And then Angel, if you have anything to add.
No, I don't. Great update. I know we just sponsored it as well. Mobility for All did. So it's really a great bilingual map. Does anybody have any questions? I know, Darcy, you were on the steering committee call. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I don't think so. It's a really great resource. And I think, you know, it's, I was really impressed during that meeting that it goes out to 20,000 students each year, which is just fantastic. So yeah, great resource and a wonderful thing to sponsor if you can.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving on to the next update is the Mobility for All Youth Transportation Unified Branding. So I will go ahead and share my screen and show you all the new branding guidelines. So we did, thank you all for providing your feedback on the new logo development. We definitely appreciate your feedback. So this is the new Mobility for All logo. The biggest issue is that we put a little bit more like dynamic like movement into the icons and used a different color palette. So you can see our new logo on black. There's a couple of different variations, like with the gradient and then wide logo. And what I'm excited to share with you all is our social media updates. So these are some templates that our consultants created for us. So you'll be seeing new social media posts for the program. And we will be releasing a press release talking about how we close the a couple of duplicate accounts. So we had 2 accounts, one for youth and one for Mobility for All on Instagram and then also on Twitter. So we'll be unifying those platforms and we have like one unified newsletter now as well. So I'm excited about the new branding with taking the youth transportation elements and Mobility for All elements for a unified approach. I don't know if anybody has anything else to add.
It looks really good.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're excited. It's fun. Okay.
I want to know if people saw our Valentine's Day post.
Oh yeah, yeah. We did use the new template for our Valentine's Day post. Did anybody see that?
Share here.
That was fantastic. I loved the little, it was really well done. Really well done. I wish I'd seen it earlier. We would have reshared it.
Yeah, it was so funny to see the staff like using ChatGPT to write love poems for transportation love poems. So yeah, and I think Jessica's going to share the link in the chat if you all want to.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can send a link to our Facebook page and then you can find it there. How about that? In case people are not following us, they can go ahead and follow us.
That sounds good. Okay.
And it was with the help of ChatGPT, but we also thought about.
Oh yes, it wasn't just ChatGPT. There was creativity.
Yeah, exactly. And I sent one to my driver Valentine.
Oh, sweet. That's funny. If it's not obvious, you're all of our transportation Valentines is what Melissa said. So thank you so much. And
Yes.
we're excited to use the new templates, the new fun templates for Instagram and Facebook.
Angel, this is Melanie with the city. We're looking at revisiting how we encourage and educate. Wondering if you might be able to share some of those templates. I just want to show it to the team. They looked really interesting and varied.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'll actually email it to you afterwards, Melanie. Yeah, we worked with Studio 6, which is a design company that works with like the Zero Fare for Better Air. I know that RTDs use them for like Zero Fare for Youth as well. And they were just, it was a really great experience. They talked to the team and just found out like what we love about our jobs and just really kind of provided a good synopsis of like what our brand would be. But
oh yeah, that's really helpful also because we're at the point of starting to talk about what that scope would be. And so, you know, how much is consultant and how much is in-house. So that's really helpful to know that that group is a good one.
Yeah, wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share. I don't think that Pedro Silva was able to attend today. I don't see him on the call, or maybe I missed him. But he is with YOUnify. He is a pastor that works on racial equity issues within Boulder County. And for YOUnify, that's the nonprofit that he's a part of. He's their outreach coordinator, I believe is his official title. So he sent me this link for the Intergenerational Interracial Equity Panel that is going to be hosted at I believe, where is it hosted? It's going to be hosted at Fraser Meadows tomorrow night. So it looks like that's going to be a really great panel. It's going to talk about racial equity and intergenerational equity in Boulder. So, okay, and it looks like Nick might be joining us. He's going to be presenting here shortly. So hopefully the phone will work out. But while we're waiting, why don't we go ahead and Reina, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself to the group and talk a little bit about the transit assistance grant. I know that you're pretty new. I don't know if you can.
Yes.
Oh.
Can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Thank you, Reina.
Thank you. Good afternoon, all. My name is Reina Cubias, and I'm one of the RTD market development consultants. And I was recently assigned to assist all the TMA, TMOs in the Northeast, Denver, Boulder, and surrounding areas, and I'll be happy to assist you. I've been working with RTD for about 21 years in different departments. We have in our department, we handle 8 different programs. I don't know if you're related to them. My main programs that I handle are the EcoPass, Neighborhood EcoPass or NicoPass, College Pass, and the alternative mobile ticketing program, okay? But if you have any questions about the LEAVE program, special discount, we have, let me see here. I have a list of the transit assistant grant program is brand new and it's going to be one-time thing. So yeah, the nonprofit. So if you have any questions about all those programs, I'm happy to receive any emails that you send me. And we have different administrators for different programs, so I'll be happy to forward anything. If you have any requests about brochures, I'll be happy to take those also. Only the bulk mobile schedules are going straight to Brandon Faiolini. But the rest of us, if you have any questions, I can forward to Teresa Rinker or my supervisor, Jyotsna Katri, and I'll be happy to assist you, okay? Right now, I just want to say, because most of you are related to the TAG program, you know, the Transit Assistant Grant Program. I just want to give you a friendly reminder that the application period is going to end on February 29. I don't know if you have any specific questions about the TAG program. Anybody has any questions?
I have a couple of questions, Reina. We did have a presentation last month, but if somebody is not necessarily currently serving people that have like urgent needs, are they still able to apply? What comes to mind specifically is the influx of migrant families, because there are some organizations that maybe weren't assisting people urgently before, like people experiencing homelessness or domestic violence victims, but now with the influx of migrants, they are. Should they apply for the program, or like, does it have to be like part of your core mission to serve people?
I would recommend to apply for it because we are working with some organizations, you know, that they're asking. We have a committee that is going to review all the applications after the 29, and they're going to decide if they qualify or not. So I will encourage them to apply and see if they qualify. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And then I also had another question after the last update that they did about the requirements to promote the RTD Live program. Could you speak a little bit more, or are you the right person to talk a little bit more about what are those requirements?
For the Live program?
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for that, okay, but I can, yeah, because, let me see here.
And just to clarify, Reina, I think that they're familiar with what the Live program is, but I think during the presentation, they said that there was a requirement to also promote the RTD Live program while you were getting those passes to give out for free, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you know what? Let me put you over there on the chat, the link, because they have videos and they have all that information, and I don't really know the answer. So I can get back to you, but I can put also the link over there. Like I said, I wasn't prepared for Live program. I'm brand new on this, so I'm trying to get involved in all the programs, but my main programs were EcoPass and NicoPass, College Pass. So yeah, but I'll be happy to put this on the chat, the link. Okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Angel, I can speak to that a little bit. So what you're referring to is the requirement to essentially educate folks on the Live program as part of receiving the grant, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is a requirement mainly because the Trans Assistance Grant Program is intended to be somewhat of a stopgap solution, right? Where the objective is to get people more into those long-term programs such as Live. So RTD obviously will support organizations as they do this education and provide any materials that are needed. But with that objective in mind of getting as many folks onto Live as possible, that kind of educational piece is part of receiving the grant, right? So, at outreach events, sharing about Live, or when you're intaking folks and providing them with resources, you can be like, hey, here are your free ride tickets, and also let's get you signed up for Live as part of that. Does that make a little more sense?
Yeah, it does. I think that the person who had asked me, they were wondering if they were going to have to actually walk people through applying for Live. And my response was, I don't think so. I think that it's still refer people to Denver Human Services, but just provide information on Live. So that's kind of where the question was coming from.
I just want to add something. Thank you to Denny, okay, for the information. And I just want to say the person who is administrating that program, the Live program here at RTD, is going to different organizations, and they are providing information. They are helping the people walking through them, if they need to. But it's actually they have to go specifically to the Denver Human Services link to the big program, Yeah, but if they need some information or any assistance with that, probably you can send an email to the administrator. I can put the email to Valerie. She's the one, and they can set up a meeting on a specific location, with those organizations, and she can go and assist them.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Adriana, I see that your hand's up.
Yes, I do also have a question about the grant, the TAG grant, because it is for only for non-profits, right? But I can have like a fiscal sponsor to apply to that. But when you see the application, it is requiring only the non-profit information. So I don't know if then it's not like a fiscal sponsor will be going directly to the non-profit, or is there a way to say like, is Luna Cultura who is applying and is having this other organization as a fiscal sponsor? Or how should we? Because I work with families survivors of gender violence and also families in recovering of substance use to access basic needs. But I'm not a nonprofit, so
Yeah. Well, to speak to that, so yes, it's absolutely acceptable to have a fiscal sponsor. We've had other folks who have applied who are not technically a nonprofit, but they do have that fiscal sponsor status. So absolutely, that is perfectly eligible. In terms of, it sounds like you're referring to a particular part of the application that's asking for nonprofit information. Is that correct?
yes.
Okay, so I would say at that point, let's see, copy of your agency's 501c3 status. That should be where you upload the fiscal sponsorship information instead.
Okay. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, totally. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. And the committee will be reviewing the applications. They've already started kind of going through the ones that have been submitted. And if there's anything wrong with your application, they'll reach out to you to give you the opportunity to provide the missing information, right? Because we want folks to receive this grant as much as possible. So if there is something that we need in addition, we'll contact you.
Thank you very much. That's great.
Thank you. I just want to say something. I was checking on my questions and answers about the tag, and right here only said, how could an agency be denied participation? An agency can be denied if they don't serve immediate needs population with immediate transportation needs. They are not 501c3 or affiliates governmental or social services agency, or they are for-profit agency, are in or serve population not served by the RTD. Those are the only ones that they are going to be denied. I don't know if that one is going to help you.
Thank you.
Okay. So unless we have any questions for Reina, I just want to say thank you for joining us. Really look forward to working with you in the future, especially with the neighborhood eco-pass with Boulder County Housing Authority and Nederland, the town of Nederland. So thank you so much for joining us today.
You're very welcome. And I'm here, I'm going to put my email on the chat too, okay? Just in case you need to contact me.
Wonderful. Great. And so just to clarify, if you need any, just so that I make sure that I understood it right, if you need any fair information from RTD, you would reach out to Reina. So that would be information on RTD Live, the EcoPass, or anything like that. But if you need any general information on like schedules, then we would reach out to Brandon. Is that accurate?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay, great. Great. And then Brandon, if you, I know everybody knows you, but if you want to put your contact information in the chat as well, if you're still here, that would be good for everybody to see it in one place, your two different emails.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And for general questions about service, you can also contact our customer care team, and I will leave that number in the chat as well.
Perfect. Wonderful. Okay, so moving on to the next topic is the DRMAC LCC Appreciation Lunch. Steph, I went ahead and put myself as this one. You can chime in too if you want though. So we had the DRMAC hosted a LCC appreciation, and that's the local coordinating councils. So the MAC is the local coordinating council for Boulder County, and they gave out awards during the lunch appreciation, and we got to hear updates from across the region. During that award ceremony, we did get recognized for a couple of different events or a couple of different issues. So we actually got 4 people recognized for their longevity on the LCC. So we have Megan from Z-Trip, who was recognized for being on the LCC for a long time. Elaine from Boulder Transportation Connections was also recognized. Lisa Bitzer from Via Mobility Services was recognized. And then I was recognized for being on the LCC also for a long time. So just want to thank everybody who's been a long time attendee of the MAC, and just your contributions really have helped us be a pretty successful MAC or local coordinating council in the region. There were also 2 projects that were recognized. So the Mountain Rides project was recognized, and in particular, Lisa Bitzer and Katrina Harms were recognized for their role in the collaborative effort to get Mountain Rides launched. And it's really just great to see the progress in the Mountain Mobility Working Group. So I'll be putting out a press release for that as well. And then also RTD was recognized for their inclusive planning process for the fair equity study. So thank you, Brandon and Danny and everybody who were involved in the fair equity study. I think regionally, all the LCCs are really excited to see the reduced fare costs and just all of the effort that you all put into that process. So thank you.
And that was definitely a collaborative effort. So thanks to MAC and all the community partners that were really pushing that message out. We very much appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Great. So last but not least, we're going to turn it over to Nick for our MAC updates before we go to the presentation. So Nick, do you want to go ahead and launch the legislative discussion?
Yeah, he was having some issues with his audio, so I don't think we can hear you, Nick. I don't know if you can unmute your phone.
Looks like he's in the Capitol.
So he's in the meeting twice, and I think his audio is going through his
Okay, can anyone hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, is there any echo? I could turn off my computer if that's helpful.
I think you're good.
Okay, perfect. Thank
Nick,
you.
Sorry, Nick, do you want me to share your slides or do you want to share your slides?
If you could, that'd be great, just because,
Okay.
yeah, I'll be holding one phone.
Yeah, okay, great. I will pull it up real
and
quick.
then, yes, thank you so much. So yeah, Nick Robles, policy analyst in the commissioner's office, and super happy you also have Commissioner Levy and Commissioner Lochamian, who can, of course, jump in anytime to add any details related to just a quick overview of some of the transportation-related bills that we've seen in this session. And of course, anyone else, there's a lot of expertise here at this meeting, so if anyone else wants to jump in as well, please just jump in. I probably won't be able to see if anyone raises their hand, so yes, just unmute yourself, I would say. So if we could go to the next slide, please. So I'll just start off talking about some of the bills. Some of these first ones came, or at least two of the first ones came from the Transportation Legislation Review Committee. So there's the SB 32 methods to increase use of transit. And the first four bills on this list have already made it through their first committee hearing and are making their way through both the Senate and the House. But yeah, for Senate bill about increasing use of transit, this one creates a statewide transit pass exploratory committee. So by July 2026, they need to have had a proposal which will include a way to implement a statewide transit pass by January 2028. And this bill also includes the ozone season transit grant program, and that also will include $7 million for the ozone season transit grant and $7 million for the youth fair free transit grant, and making the ozone season grant permanent. And also this one also has a piece about it related to income tax credits for purchases of transit passes. And moving on to Senate Bill 36, this vulnerable road user protection enterprise. So this bill is going to create an enterprise by imposing a fee for certain vehicles based on their weight and configuration. And this is speaking about non-commercial vehicles. And then it's going to create a fund which equals about $20 million per year. And that money will be able to be accessed by local governments to be able to fund certain projects that will help make the roads more safe, especially for people who are walking or biking or just going about not in a vehicle. So protecting our vulnerable road users. We also have the next one, Senate Bill 65, the mobile electronic devices and motorcycle vehicle driving. And this one, it's going to kind of what the rule we have for individuals 18 and younger. This is now going to apply to just any driver in Colorado. So it's going to prohibit individuals from using a cell phone device when driving unless the individual is using a hands-free accessory. And that one, yeah, just passed out of committee last week, I believe. And next one, House Bill 1012, the Front Range Passenger Rail District Efficiency. I'm sure Commissioner Levy could add more to this one, but this one, bit of a technical bill just to kind of help set some rules related to how the board is going to function. So yeah, I think I'll leave it at that one. Leave it at that. So for the next one, we have in this one, I had draft earlier today, but yeah, this bill was just introduced this afternoon. It's going to be House Bill 1313, and that is the Transit-Oriented Communities Bill. And this one, yeah, definitely builds off of a lot of the land use legislation discussion that happened last year. But this one is going to require transit-oriented communities to meet its housing opportunity goal. And those goals are related to housing density in transit-related areas. And it's going to ensure that enough areas in the TOC qualify as transit centers. And if a transit-oriented community doesn't meet housing opportunity goal, it won't receive the highway users tax fund money. And this bill also includes about $35 million for infrastructure funds and $30 million in terms of affordable housing tax credit. And the last bill on this slide is still in draft form at this point, but this is one related to, or titled for now, Transit Reform and Governance. And this one will, this one's going to bring RTD, or the proposal is to bring RTD into DRCOG. It's also going to clarify how RTD and other transit districts provide special services around events, special events like Broncos game or concerts. So that one's related to, I believe it's Title VI protections for underserved communities. It'll also clarify RTD and other transit agencies don't have exclusivity over transit services within the district boundaries. It'll remove barriers to transit agencies redeveloping underutilized properties. Second aspect of this bill will be to support training for transit operators statewide. Third piece is the budget and reporting transparency. I guess it's partly because, yeah, RTD hasn't been subject to the same budget reporting requirements as other state agencies. And the fourth piece to this one is reforming the RTD board. So it would be a shift away from 15 elected spots, moving to a board comprised of 7 people, 1 person from CDOT, 3 governor-appointed positions, 2 DRCOG appointed positions, and 1 elected individual. Before moving to the next slide, yeah, just curious if there was, if we have time, if there's any time for questions, or we can move to the next one as well. Okay, if we can move to the next slide.
Sorry, I've got one quick question. Thank you so much for the update. Do you have an estimated timeline of when the draft transit reform and governments will go to committee?
Yeah, that I do not know. I'm not sure if Commissioner Levy is still on, if she has any insight, but I do not know. I don't have the latest update on that. Sorry.
No worries. Thank you. I appreciate the updates.
Yeah, thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, Brandon, for just chiming in, because since I'm sharing my screen, I can't see whose hands up or whatever. Any other questions for Nick before I go to the next slide?
Okay, thank you. So yeah, these are just some of the other, thank you, Claire. These are the other transportation-related bills that have been introduced so far. We have the railroad safety requirements. Some of the provisions are related to maximum length that the train operates, ensuring that they don't spend a certain amount of time blocking roadways, and then also some other technical pieces related to safety features for railroads or rail cars. There's the towing carrier regulation, offenses related to operating a vehicle. I'm just going to read the names. I'm going to dive a little bit more into a couple other ones. There's also House Bill 1161, motor vehicle, I meant to write access. No, motor vehicle access, individuals with disabilities. So this one will require that a car sharing program by 2028 will ensure that each shared car indicate the car's accessibility modifications. Another provision to HB 1161 is by January 2026, the local government may approve new construction or remodel of electric vehicle charging station if built within 120 inches with 36 inches access aisles. And then also just of course provision related to no blocking and accessible parking. Senate Bill 75, I believe this one is in committee right now. So this is Transportation Network Company Transparency. So this one just says that these company, Transportation Network company must develop a driver deactivation policy, and that must be reported to the Division of Labor Standards and Statistics in the CDLE, and information regarding transportation tasks completed and deactivation of drivers. So just making sure that companies like Lyft or Uber have a ways to deactivate a driver from, and stating that policy. A couple of three of the other ones are related to motorcycle lane filtering and passing, commercial vehicle highway safety measures, and a technical one related to just a reporting requirement for CDOT back from 2011. So that was a quick run through of just some of the transportation related legislation we've seen this session. So yeah, if there's time for any questions, or we can move on.
It looks like Cammie has a question. Cammie?
Hi, Nick. I'm not sure if this one was on your radar, but I'm wondering, are you also watching House Bill 24 and it's 1304? I think it was just introduced yesterday. It's about eliminating minimum parking requirements, which I think gives local municipalities potentially a good chance to relook at some of their land use codes on how to re-envision space to develop, safe connections and multimodal connections to the transportation system from housing developments. So that might be one you'd want to put on your radar if it's not already as well.
Yes, thank you so much, Cammie, for bringing that one up. Yeah, definitely. My coworker Cindy has definitely been following that one very closely. So thanks for bringing that to everyone's attention. And yeah, I can provide updates later about that one. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So Nick, I guess one question was that came up in the MAC several months ago was around TNCs, maybe not necessarily honoring that people needed a guide dog or kind of passing up people who had canes or guide dogs. Has there been any talk about including some sort of bill or some sort of language in the TNC bill around reporting requirements for people with disabilities?
Okay, that's a great flag, Cammie. Yeah, I haven't heard that being discussed, but yes, I'll definitely check making some questions around here. Thank you.
Yeah, I remember that Commissioner Lochiman had followed up with me after the meeting about something similar, but I don't know if it made it anywhere, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any more questions for Nick? Well, thank you, Nick, very much for providing that update, and looking forward to seeing how some of these bills pan out, and how how they get funded as well, right? Did you say, just to clarify, the ozone is proposed at 7 million for ozone season and 7 million for youth? Is that what you said? Do you remember?
Yeah, those were the numbers when it was initially introduced. Yeah.
Okay. Which I know that's lower than what we've been funding the zero fare for ozone. But, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Nick, and look forward to getting more updates in the future. Okay, moving on to the presentation from DRCOG. So Nora, are you giving the presentation or is Brittney?
I am actually. Yes, I think Brittney is actually going to present.
Great, thank you. And I don't know if you two want to introduce yourselves. I don't know if we've met you before.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm Brittney Compton. I'm a multimodal planner with the Denver Regional Council of Governments. So I work with Nora.
Yeah, and I'm Nora Kern. I manage DRCOG's sub-area and project planning team. So turn over to you, Brittney.
All right, let me see if I can get my screen shared the way I want to. All right, I think that should be working. All right, so today I'm going to be talking a little bit more about one of our studies that we're working on South Boulder Road, which I think may be of particular interest to a lot of you. First, I'll give a little background on who DRCOG is. So on this map in this green boundary
Not
here.
seeing the screens yet, Brittney.
Oh, thank you.
Just a heads up.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me see if I can fix that.
Don't worry, it's always a challenge with multiple screens and Zoom.
It really
and
is.
It's fine.
I have to hit share if I want to share. Okay.
Now we can.
Yes. Now
Perfect. Thank you so
you.
much. Okay, so a little background on who DRCOG is. So on this map, you see the green area in the middle. This is more of the developed part of our Metropolitan Planning Organization boundary. So we're a planning organization. Part of the decisions are made in conjunction with our 58 member government. So these are representatives from all the different cities and counties in that area. And we're looking at how to allocate funding, set policy and guidelines for things like transportation and mobility, but also for aging and disability resources. So we cover quite a bit of area. We're part of the traditional territory for the Ute, Cheyenne, and Arapaho peoples. And we are federally recognized not only as the Metropolitan Planning Organization, but as the Area Agency on Aging. And for the state, the Regional Planning Commission. So this is preparing the plan for the physical development of the region with leaders of all of those towns, cities, and counties in the region. Okay, so with the map here, you can see where the study area is. The orange line is showing that it's starting in the west at Table Mesa Drive, and it goes all the way out to the east in Lafayette to 120th Street. And then the lighter blue dotted line is the kind of radius around the main part of South Boulder Road that we're looking at and considering. Just wanted to thank our partners as part of the team that we've been working with. So the cities of Boulder, Lafayette, and Louisville, as well as Boulder County RTD, and then our consultants, Fair and Peers, Kimley Horn, and NHN. And then also wanted to mention that we've been doing a lot of local community engagement with a group called Together Colorado, which is, they've been just great to work with. Just a little more information about the corridors. You can see that light green line to orient yourself to the larger map. It is of particular interest since it does cover 3 different cities. So we're looking at Boulder, Louisville, and Lafayette. And, you know, for most of you who have driven on this corridor, it's quite diverse throughout the length of it. And we're looking at, you know, areas that we're having concerns with safety. So this one was a particular interest with 998 crashes tracked between 2015 and 2019. There's a pretty high density of residents living within a mile and quite a few job opportunities with a little over 19,000. So like I mentioned before, one of the things that we're looking at is safety. with this study. All of our work that we are doing is focused on what is outlined in our regional transportation plan. So this is one of the priorities of that plan that we're working on. And so these are investments in the multimodal transportation system. So really looking at the corridor as a whole and how people are traveling throughout using different modes of transportation. And so the goal is to establish a vision for the corridor of South Boulder Road. And then we're also looking at transit and connectivity along with safety. So far we have gone through quite a few of the phases of the study. We've covered our backgrounds and current conditions and our first engagement phase in the community. So now we're getting to the point where we're working with our partners to develop a vision and goals that we'll later bring to the community for feedback, and then eventually develop a final plan in summer of 2024. As part of our background for the study, our consultants did a pretty extensive analysis of different things of concern, and one of those is intersect safety. So this just highlights a couple of the major intersections where we see a lot of crashes. And so each of the locations there has a column there for loss total and loss severity. So loss total is highlighting how much potential there is for the reduction in the number of crashes. And then loss severity is highlighting how much potential there is to reduce crashes resulting in injury or fatalities. So you can see that there's quite a few intersections of interest. And just to note, with the information that we're collecting, just because there's a lower loss score doesn't mean that they wouldn't see any safety improvements. So 1 and 2 would be kind of low to moderate, and then 3 and 4 are higher potentials. Another thing that was interesting that we looked at is transit speed and reliability. So this is combining quite a few different transit routes along the corridor. One of the main ones that's running along there is the dash line. So, you know, when we were looking at how fastly transit is moving through the corridor, if the bus is slowing down, we can see that that means that other traffic is slowing down. So we can improve the flow of the corridor if we can improve the flow of the buses. So yeah, the dash is running along there. There's quite a few other routes, and then 2 on-demand routes are the Louisville Flex and the Ride Free Lafayette. Here we have some more analyses about bicycle and pedestrian facilities. I know the text is kind of tiny, but this is starting at Table Mesa Drive going over to McCaslin Boulevard. So we see that on the left side, there's quite a few bike lanes. Some may or may not be protected. There's multi-use paths, mixed use, you know, sidewalk and biking sections. And then as we get into unincorporated Boulder County, we see the loss of the bike lane and a shoulder there, and not really the presence of any of those sidewalks. And then as we go further east, we're seeing quite a good mix of bike lanes, detached sidewalks, or different multi-use paths that are dividing that up. So this is from McCaslin Boulevard to the end of the study area at 120th Street. And this kind of goes into a little more on travel patterns along the corridor. So as you may know, travel looks quite a bit different depending on which part of the corridor you're in. So we were interested to see how people were traveling regionally throughout South Boulder Road. So we can see that most trips are taking place, whether it's on the weekends or weekdays, starting in Boulder County and also ending in Boulder County. And then there are a couple that are starting out of Boulder County and going into Boulder County in the greenish colored pie of the chart. And then fewer trips that are either starting and ending out of Boulder County at 1%, or starting in Boulder County and then going outside of it. And so this data, we actually use streetlight data analytics. So this essentially compiles cell phone data to see what types of trips are made on South Boulder Road. So this was done between February to April of 2022. Okay. So a little more on travel patterns. The rectangle in the middle, or I guess a little off to the left, there's Cherryvale Road. So we were looking at trips made on the west side of the corridor and travel patterns there. So seeing a lot of trips that are longer, connecting Boulder to Louisville, some more interregional trips on this side of the corridor. And then on the far east side near Public Road, we're seeing a lot more local trips between North and South Lafayette. So it's interesting to see those changes as more of a local connector versus a regional connector on the west side. Okay, and then this just highlights a little bit more about trip length at the different intersections. So kind of just a little more redundant on the west side, you can see with Cherryvale and McCaslin, 53 to 56% of the trips are between 5 to 10 miles. And then most of the rest of the trips are 10 to 20 miles that are traveling through those streets. And then as we get further over to 287 and Public Road, we're seeing that most trips are 5 miles or less. So that was interesting to note, to compare the two different sides of the corridor. And then community engagement. So our phase 1 strategies, we had a public meeting that we hosted recently, and then we did 2 main pop-up events. So we were at the Louisville Rec Center and the East Boulder Rec Center. And we also did focus groups with the residents of Lafayette Gardens and Boulder Ridge communities. So these are mobile home communities that are pretty close to 120th Street over in Lafayette. So we met with them. Really glad that we were able to provide some compensation for them for their time there, considering the barriers that they may be running into to be able to attend a public meeting or a focus group like that. And then we just closed our online map and our first survey for comments. So here's kind of a snapshot of what the map looks like. We'll still have the map up if you want to take a look at it, but there's not as much commenting on the actual page currently. But we had 2,615 page visitors and 801 contributions combined between the map and the survey. So that was pretty exciting. So now we'll be, analyzing all of the results and taking a look at putting those into the recommendations. And then for next steps, like I mentioned before, we're working on the vision and goals now. After that, we'll be reviewing it with the community and drafting the recommendations, considering the community feedback, and then developing the final plan, and hopefully in summer of 2024. So yeah, I didn't know if anyone had any questions.
Brittney, I was actually just gonna message you in chat, but thank you so much. That was a really interesting and great presentation. I was just wondering if would you mind emailing it to me when you have a chance? That would be great. Thank you so much. Here, I'll just send this message to you, my email right there.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks, Marjorie.
Yeah. Any other questions for the DRCOG team? I guess I have a question when you talk about like the east versus the west end and like how the travel patterns are more regional on the west end. What would be the significance of that with how you like end up designing the corridor? Like how would you factor that into what treatments you have for the road?
That's a good question. I might turn that over to Nora, but my initial thoughts are, the right of way of the road is quite different, as well as along the corridor. So we're seeing a different amount of space to work with. So that might be part of the reason why it looks so different, and it will affect our recommendations. But I can let Nora expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think part of it is also just thinking of the priorities of kind of who's using the corridor and how. So you know, because on the eastern end, it is really operating more like kind of a main street, a local street. You know, we're expecting shorter trips. So we definitely want to make sure those trips can be made by foot and bike and transit. And realizing a lot of those destinations are probably closer, so it might be more of an option. I think as you look in the unincorporated Boulder section, you really see folks are traveling between communities. So whether that's by car or by bus or by bike, we want to make sure we're kind of giving people options there. And so I think it just kind of helps us think through the prioritization and thinking what types of changes are most important in each of the segments based on who's currently using it and kind of how it could be used in the future.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Brittney and Nora? Okay. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's exciting to see DRCOG in like more of like a hands-on approach for this corridor. So I know that sometimes you all are doing like more of like the regional, like high level, like long range plans, but hopefully it's enjoyable for you also to be more hands-on nuts and bolts.
Yeah, thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful. So that is actually, we're going to wrap it up at this point. Next month, we have a panel discussion on volunteer programs. So it's going to be a great discussion on just maintaining volunteers, like how volunteer programs are structured around transportation. Not all of the panelists will actually be just transportation, but I think it'll be a good learning experience as we move forward to expand the Mountain Volunteer Driver Program in the Peak to Peak region. And then also as like Jessica oversees our volunteer program. So I think we're gonna learn a lot next month, but then the month after that, we will be in person. So April will be in person. So just keep that in mind, keep it on your radar. But thank you so much for joining us today and looking forward to seeing you all next month.